So last year, Jacoby, one of the things I've been thinking about recently is that last year, and especially because I was watching the Mavs last night, which featured P.J. Washington on this team, Daniel Gafford on this team, that they made a deal when it came trade deadline time that swung the balance of power and enabled them to become a Western Conference finalist and an NBA finalist for that matter, right? It was something that they did to augment their team that got them there. If anybody wants to poke holes in the Indiana Pacers being at the level that they were last year, that's fine, but they were there. They made it to where they made it, and they made it in part because they took a big swing and added Pascal Siakam to the mix last year. And so one of the things that I've been thinking, and maybe it is going to be much more relevant in the Western Conference than it is the Eastern Conference, but we will see. I really believe that the finalists, if we are to say that we think Boston and Cleveland right now would be Boston, the favorites, okay, and or New York, none of those teams, you don't look at it. I would say New York could certainly add some depth to the mix, okay, if possible. But because that did show up in that Oklahoma City game, right? It is hard to have your best players playing minutes 37 through 44 when the other best players are playing minutes 27 through 34, right?
And that's the Tibbs way.
I understand.
Well documented. It's well documented. Yeah.
I understand. Anyways, if we are to say that Oklahoma City is way ahead of everybody else, okay, in the Western Conference, and they have proven to be such thus far.
Fair to say, yeah.
Almost everybody else in that conference, when you look up and down, you go, what are they going to do to their team? Because there is nobody that you feel great about their opportunity to make the Western Conference Finals right now. Is that fair? Do you agree with that statement? Right now, Oklahoma City, let's go ahead and put them there. There is no one else you feel great if I said, hey, I'll give you $100. You can put it on any other team to be a Western Conference finalist.
It's feel great is hard to get to, but I will say that a healthy Mavericks team, I would feel good about taking.
But you don't have that right now.
In the last 2 weeks, it's just been that Luka went down with something that's very concerning. Kyrie went down with something that's very concerning. So, no, I don't feel great about it. So, current state of all the teams aside, like there's the Thunder and then there's literally no one else. You know, they say the Thunder and everyone else. There's the Thunder and no one else.
P.S. It's an abject disaster. One of the things that ran through my mind last night, I'm like, I don't know how many games this team is going to win. You know, they do have a decent head start on
record-wise. They were up 15
wise.
On the Grizzlies, just for the record, in the first half.
Yeah, they also got beat by 15.
I know. I watched.
I don't know how many games that team is going to win, but it's an abject disaster for those top seeds if they are the ones that fall down. If
this happened in the Eastern Conference last year.
I got you.
But as a Knicks fan, I'm like, wait, we're paying Joel Embiid and Maxey
let me just tell you something.
Round as a 2 seed?
Let me tell you something. If you're Oklahoma City or you're Houston or you're Memphis, those are the top 3 teams right now in the Western Conference. Mm-hmm. The last thing on earth you want to see is Dallas at 6, 7, or 8. That is abject disaster.
You win your way into a Luka Kyrie matchup. You win your way into it.
And that is
congratulations on the 2 seed, guys.
And that's a real thing that could happen.
Oh, yeah.
Given their circumstances.
You see Steph there, you can see Wemby there. You know, there's some lurkers down there in the 6 through 10.
My point is this.
Kevin Durant there?
My point is this. Much like we saw last year with Dallas, I am convinced that these teams augmenting their teams within this next month's time is going to change who we think can be in the Western Finals. I do. And I actually think, by the way, because we didn't talk about this much, I thought it was absolutely enormous for the Lakers to get Finney-Smith. I love that piece for them. Also, another team, if they are healthy and they're bringing Reeves and LeBron and Davis and Finney-Smith and Hachimura and that group to the party, again, another team, a young team, does not want to see.
That's
and
fair.
I say that as a fan of a young team. Like, you don't want to see that team when it comes playoff time.
Oh, hell no.
And but they augmented their team and I think improved their chances. I think the Lakers' chances of being a Western Conference finalist improved greatly by adding him to the mix.
I mean,
and now it's going to be the other teams. The other teams got to add people.
I think that here's the thing that I love what you said is just looking at the top three in the Western Conference, because I think it's fair to say there's those three and there's a pretty big drop off, right? And we're talking about the Grizzlies, the Rockets, and of course the Thunder. Every one of those teams feels like a susceptible first-round exit team.
Yeah, there's not a huge drop-off between those. Look, the regular season is a much different world
in terms of standings. Not in terms of playoff team quality, in terms of like where they're going to end up in the standings. I don't see the Rockets going into the play-in, even though they're only 4 games away from it.
No.
But all of those teams will not be as favored as 1 through 3 seeds are traditionally favored in the playoffs, depending on the matchups, of course, because there are some Hall of Fame veteran basketball players that are going to be in the play-in. I'm talking about Kevin Durant. I'm talking about LeBron James.
But look at I'm saying all those teams, because Memphis tried to get Finney-Smith. All of those teams, and they're 2, and you don't know. I know the Rockets have been leaking to everybody. We're not doing anything. We want to keep it all together. Whatever. But I mean, if you're looking at it, and especially anybody with eyeballs, and you're watching Oklahoma City, and you're going, how am I going to be able to compete with them? If you want to win right now, all of these teams from 2 down, and you might even say Oklahoma City would want to even improve themselves if they had the opportunity to do it and add, because their name had been floated around with a Cam Johnson or whatever, right? Yeah. Another guy they could chuck it out to and reliably knock down shots to best fit around Gilgeous-Alexander. But I think, honestly, from 2 down, all of them realistically look at their team and go, if we want to make the Western Conference Finals, we're not good enough right now.
So I agree with your take that a team on the verge, I like the Mavericks last year, makes some trade deadline moves. I think Washington was before the deadline or whatever. But here's the thing that I'm going to take your take and sort of twist it a little bit. It was Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, right? It wasn't a superstar. It wasn't an all-star. And the thing that we love to talk about the big names at the trade deadline. We love to talk about, Jimmy Butler. Where's Jimmy Butler going to go? I'm sure we're going to get to that. De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. What a perfect fit that would be.
Right.
But the guys that are really going to change the sort of playoff picture and the contenders or pretenders line aren't always the biggest names. Like
it's
last year,
players. You're right.
It's Dan Gafford from the Bulls and the Wizards. Like most people that just like the NBA have no idea who Daniel Gafford is.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was tearing it up for the Wizards. I don't know if you remember that little couple weeks that he had after he got traded.
So to your point, it might be, and you look at
Cam
those
Johnson.
names. You look at those names. It could be a Cam Johnson. It could be a Jeremy Grant.
I got one for you. I like Jeremy Grant. I got Nick Claxton. No one talks about Nick Claxton.
Nick Claxton. It could be a Colin Sexton. It could be a Jordan Clarkson, as a heater off your bench. Like,
see, that's
those
what
are
I'm saying to you is we spend so much time talking about would De'Aaron Fox fit with Wemby
or Zach LaVine,
probably not going to happen.
Or
Jimmy what would Jimmy Butler on the Warriors? Like, probably not going to happen. But what is going to happen is Colin Sexton's going to end up somewhere.
Right.
Jordan Clarkson's going to end up somewhere. Nick Claxton's going to end up somewhere. Cam Johnson's going to end up somewhere. And to take what you have to say about the trade deadline being as impactful this year as last year, I don't have the specifics of who's going to where, but I think we spend a lot of time talking about the big names because the big names get the clicks and the ratings and the whatever. But it's going to be like Colin Sexton.
That's right.
That's going to change the Western Conference.
And they're the harder ones because now it's so punitive to deal for the big names.
Yeah.
They get paid so much money.
Yeah. Even the little names are hard to get done. But like, we've been talking about Jimmy Butler getting traded, and we will later in the show, I'm sure. But like, it's just hard to do. Hard to do.